Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Blanche Case Fitness. It's Saturday, and you know what that means. It's time for the weekend kickoff, our awesome strength and stamina focused bodyweight class, and it has been a week. It has been a week, my friends, and I appreciate your understanding why I could not teach yesterday. I woke up and I realized that if I did not take the day, I would just get completely overwhelmed by everything that was happening. So I said, okay, gotta take the day for myself. And I honestly wasn't sure if I was going to teach this morning either, but I woke up this morning and I felt the need for some exercise and for gathering together and just taking an hour out of our morning to work out and, be able to focus on something that feels far more in our control, i.e. getting on the mat. So yeah. Hello, everybody. I hope that you are taking care of yourselves, because this has been a shitty week. And I recognize that it is probably more impactful for those of us who are in Colorado, and particularly in the Boulder area itself. But I don't think any week is a good week that literally kicks off with a mass shooting. And it's been hard to navigate, and I hope that everyone has been being kind to themselves this week. I know I have kept coming back to that for myself, kept reminding myself that I do not need to expect maximum productivity from myself this week, and in fact should not, it's a hard lesson. It's a hard lesson, which is why you hear me stumbling over the words. This thing that I tell you to do all the time, that I remind you, is so important. And it is something that's really hard for me. And it's one of the reasons why I focus on it so much. Because we focus on the things that we recognize are important, that we know are hard for ourselves. And I know that it's hard for all of us. It is hard for all of us to give ourselves a break, to look at the last week or the last year and say, okay, it's all right to feel what you're feeling. It's all right if what you're feeling is freaked out because, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, but there's still so far to go. It's all right if what you're feeling is angry and powerless because motherfuckers with AR-15s keep walking into places where we should not even have to think about our safety and forcing us to think about our safety. Like, it's okay if you need to take a day for your mental health. And I understand how hard that is, because it's hard for me. So remember that we're all working through this. We are all learning our way through this. But I was very glad to wake up this morning and to feel more space in my brain and to feel like, yeah, I would like to wake up and do some exercise. That is absolutely what I want to do. That's a nice feeling. It's a really nice feeling. So, yeah, friends, I don't know how chatty I'm going to be today, because that's the component that I'm still pulling back. It's hard to feel the full capacity to make conversation when trying to deal with something like this. And yeah, it's just hard. It's hard. Y'all know that. I know that. But we're here, and you know, it's gonna be a good class. It's gonna be a good class, whether you're getting on the mat and going, all right, I need to take all of this energy and just pour it onto the mat today, or whether you're getting on the mat and going, all right, I'm on the mat, that's my win condition, and trying to keep moving the whole time is going to be my secondary win condition. Like, whatever you need to use class for today, like, let's do it, you know? And let's not judge ourselves for wherever we are right now, because it's been a hard week, and we are allowed to feel that. And in fact, we should let ourselves feel that, because nothing good comes from shoving emotions down deep inside and trying not to think about them. Nothing good comes from that. And I say that as a person who has a tendency to do that, and you know, has a tendency to sort of go off, my instinct is to go off into a corner and just, like, you know, feel my stuff by myself and then sort of shove it away and try and pretend that it doesn't exist. And while there is nothing wrong with taking time to process things, there is a difference between, I'm going to take a little time to process this, and then I'm going to actively go back and talk about it with more than just the ghosts in my head. And I'm going to take time to process this and use that as a convenient excuse to sort of think about it for a while and then shove it away and hope that it doesn't come back and be like, cool, done with that. I've been both of those people, and the latter, it's not a good approach. So yes, today we are not shoving our emotions down. We are using them to guide our workout, however it ends up looking. We are gonna be here yawning probably, because yeah, it's been a tiring week. But we're gonna be really proud of ourselves, because we're here, you know, and because we gave ourselves the grace to say, well, this may serve me or it may not serve me. And if you're just hanging out in chat this morning, if you're not up for actually working out, that's awesome too. Hang out, be here. Community is super important right now too. And it's also important to recognize what you need and to honor it. All right. But for those of us who are going to work out, I salute you. And yeah, I may be a little less on my toes patter-wise today, and I know you understand that, but we're here, and we're gonna have a good workout, and that's the important thing. So let's do our pre-class checklist, my friends. Let's start making sure that you have water in some sort of a vessel. Hopefully you've been hydrating yourself this week with water. You've got your comfy clothes on, whatever that means to you. You've got your mat or mat-sized space on the floor. And if you use a fitness wearable, now is the time for us to turn them on to high-intensity interval training. Oh, my extremities are cold. It's that time of year where I don't really have a good gauge of the temperature in the house. So I am either too hot or too cold, and there's not really a middle ground. All right. Rub the sleep from your eyes. Rub your hands together just to go, all right. They exist. I exist. I'm here. I'm ready to work out. I'm ready to give this a go. And let's start with our warm-up. Awkwardly pushing ourselves over to our mats. You're probably already on your mat. I'm the only one who has to awkwardly scoot across the floor to get over here. All right. Our usual warm-up, because especially in a week like this, it is good to have something that we know and can hold on to. So everybody on your mats, on your backs, 1 foot crossed over the opposite knee, and as soon as you hear that timer go off, we will begin with hip rocks and bridges. There we go. Okay. Woof. Yeah, remembering that we are not, we're never here to jump straight to 100% energy output, but especially not today, okay? Especially not today. We are going to give our systems as much time as they need during this warm-up to boot up and start to work, all right? So we are not over here trying to win the warm-up. That is not our goal. That is not our goal, nor is it an effective tactic to take. So let's just focus on what we are doing, all right? So we've got the foot cross over the knee, which means that when we rock our hips up, we are pulling this entire leg apparatus closer to our chest, and that gives us a really nice stretch along the outside of the hip. It's basically like doing an active version of the pigeon pose or that pretzel stretch that we do in our stretching sequences, you know, so it's the same thought process, but because it's more of an active movement rather than just holding the position, it's a little easier on our knees. Usually when we're doing that stretch, you want to make sure that you have your foot flexed to protect this knee so it's not, being pulled and sort of torqued weirdly. All right, and now we're just going to do some nice, easy leg movements. And that's the thing about this leg sequence. None of it is particularly complicated. There are movements that can be more difficult depending on your flexibility level, but everything that we're doing here makes sense, I believe. There's not any isolation movements that we have to wrap our brains around. It's really just we're moving a major limb with a major muscle group, and we are just trying to pay attention to what are all the other muscle groups that are involved in the moving of this leg, because there are a lot of them. My glutes involved, my obliques are involved. It's not just the obvious. So as we do today's warm-up, let's really think about the secondary muscle groups that are involved in each of our exercises, because no exercise is solely reliant on the muscle that we're focusing on working. They will work certain muscle groups more heavily, which is why we say, this is a bicep exercise, this is a calf exercise, because we can focus the movement to work primarily a specific muscle group, but it's never the only muscle group that's working. And as we start to get a better sense of what all goes into even something as simple as just lifting my leg in towards my midline like this, we start to get a better sense of the interconnectivity of our bodies and brains. This is a giant, complicated system, and you really can't impact one piece of it without impacting the rest of it, okay? And a lot of times a lot of times we come up through these systems of physical education that try to create, you know, a divide between the brain and the body, and not just in physical education, but that's sort of a cultural, societal, and sometimes even religious creation as well, trying to create this divide, you know, and it's simply not true. You know, we are a giant system, and it includes every component of us. Nothing that we're doing right now would be possible without the brain participating actively, not passively, and nothing that we're doing right now would be possible without the body participating actively, not passively. So we're not floating brains piloting a skeleton, although I know that's a popular and funny way to describe the experience of life, but we're truly not. Everything is connected, all right? Everything is connected, and we need to learn how to interact with those connections, because when we start trying to set up walls and set up divides between brain and body, then we become more likely to injure ourselves, because we lose the ability to recognize the signals that either system is sending that say, hey, maybe we need a break, hey, this might injure me, maybe I should do something else, you know. A lot of the reason why we miss those signals is because we're trained to ignore them. We're trained to not think that they are serious, to think that we're supposed to be able to just muscle our way through anything, again, sort of dividing body and brain. And that's not true. And I recognize too, you know, talking about the importance of the interconnectivity of the system is not as easy as I'm making it sound. You know, there are plenty of very legitimate reasons why these divides can exist, and they can range anywhere from, you know, because I came up through PE classes that sort of trained me to push through the pain and like ignore any of those signals, to, you know, trans folks dealing with severe you know, body dysmorphia issues and stuff like that. Like that, those divides can be self-preservation, you know. So there are plenty of reasons why this is not as simple as I recognize I was making it sound, which basically goes for everything that we talk about in this class, my friends. Life is a complicated entity, and you know, we put things in terms that are simple and straightforward because that aids us in the communication of concepts, and that's valuable. But we also then tend to forget that the nuance still exists, and to start thinking in that simplicity of structure. And yeah, so I mean, you can take it as read that anything that I talk about here obviously has a ton of nuance and is not ever going to be as easy as just, you know, learn how to listen to your body. It's super simple. It's not super simple. And I think that's an important caveat to give, because it's way too easy for me as a teacher to start speaking too much in generalizations, and for you as students to, you know, hear that and not necessarily always remember the nuance component. And it's work for both of us that we need to do. You know, for me to remember to remind you that I recognize the difficulty of what I describe in a lot of these situations, and making sure that whenever you are listening to people talk about systems and process and all of that good stuff, to remember that there is always nuance, and to not play down your own experience and understanding just because an authority figure is making something seem like a really cut and dried thing. Okay? It's one of the truly fascinating and frustrating things about being an adult, I think, is the realization that nothing is simple. Nothing is a binary. And even that pronouncement is not simple or a binary. But, you know, we have to keep that curiosity, we have to keep that willingness to learn and to challenge ourselves and to challenge our perceptions and to take that information and use it to learn and to grow and to improve how we interact with the world and with the people in it. Oh man, let me tell you, these Samson stretches are feeling very necessary. I can tell that I have not stretched out my hip flexors in several days, and they are not pleased about that fact. So really try and sink into that stretch as much as you can. Obviously, we're not doing it as a static stretch, but really try to make sure that you get that nice stretching sensation before switching to the other side. All right. Oof, yeah, because these are the things that we feel when we've spent several days mostly not moving. And again, I'm not saying that to myself to get down on myself. I needed that extra rest day. Absolutely. It was super important. And it's also important when I come back to exercise to recognize that things may be a little stiffer, and that I need to pay attention to that. Again, that I need to pay attention to the signals that my body and my brain are sending me to help keep myself healthy and safe, which are two of our big goals for anything we do in class. All right. Oh, besides, I've got a new exercise for today that I just thought up this morning, and I am excited. Well, I'm sure it already existed, but I just thought of it this morning, something to add into class. And I don't know that I've ever done it, done this particular exercise in class, so I am very excited. I was testing it out right before I turned on the stream. And so place your bets now on what muscle group you think it's going to focus on. Let me know what you think. You're all smart cookies. I bet that most of you can guess this, but I want to see. How predictable I am, huh? Oh, all right. Good grief. Yeah, I am going to focus on just smooth movements for the kick-throughs today. So usually I add in that nice hop in the center as I go from side to side. But Today, I want to focus on doing the kick-throughs for the entire minute rather than speeding them up, because I realize that I remind you all to do that all the time, but I don't remind myself that that is an appropriate way to approach the kick-throughs. And, you know, I've talked about how kick-throughs are an exercise that I find more intense and difficult to do. So, it's definitely useful to remind myself that I don't have to be taking them super fast yet. I can focus on getting all the way through the timer first before I focus on pushing for additional speed and power and all that jazz. So let's just always remind ourselves of that. All right. Oops. There we go. Hiya. Okay, friends, time for some water. Oh, thank you, Tim, for subscribing. Hooray. Always exciting to get new subscribers on stream. And it's always very much appreciated. Absolutely. We'll see if you want to keep that subscription after today's class. All right. So we're going to start out with a pyramid because that is what I'm feeling right now. I feel like I gravitate towards pyramids when I'm feeling the need to just really focus in on a specific number of reps and just test myself like that. So let's do a pyramid. Our 8-minute timer, 3 exercises. And the first exercise is going to be this new exercise. So, if you guessed core, congratulations. You know me very well. So, we're going to be doing an oblique side-to-side exercise, basically. So I'm going to pull my knees up, my feet off the floor, and I'm going to twist my knees to one side and pull them in towards my chest, okay? So really feeling the obliques working to twist and pull the knees in. Then I'll let them move away from my chest a little bit, point them in the other direction, and up again, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? So for our pyramid, since we do 21, 15, 10, we'll want to do 22 and 16 for this one because we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, and you want to make sure to even yourself out, okay? Second exercise is going to be toe squats. Oh my God, they're not doing a big toe squat thing at the end. Crazy. So, feet hip width apart, keeping our backs straight up and down as much as we can. Starting to squat until you can't go any farther without lifting the heels, then letting the heels come off the ground and back up. All right, so that's 2. And then 3, I'm going to try something crazy. We're going to do a held exercise, so it doesn't have reps, but we will hold it for the appropriate amount of time. I want to test this out today to see how that feels. So we're going to do front plank. Usual, shoulders directly over elbows, everything else in a nice straight line. And so for this, we'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., etc. Okay? So 21 seconds, 15 seconds, 10 seconds, essentially. Okay, so we've got our nice oblique TikToks. We've got our toe squats, and we've got our front plank. So it's going to be an 8-minute timer. Remember, you can take whatever breaks you want to. Just make sure you do 21 reps, 15 reps, then 10 reps. All right? So everybody on your mats, and let's go. All right. Whew. So remember, I don't demonstrate the dramatic breathing, the exhaling on the effort as much as I would like to, because I have to talk the whole time. But I want you to always remember how critical exhaling can be as a tool, motivational tool, reminding us to clear all that old junk out of the body so that we can then breathe in more oxygen, which is super important, and just giving us a reason to feel a little bit excited and pumped about what we're doing and how we're doing it. So remember, exhaling on the effort is figuring out what part of the exercise takes the most intensity. Oh man, trying to count and talk today is definitely harder than usual, shall we say. So, I should have said that at the beginning too. Always remember, for our pyramids, if you need to turn down the volume on here and you need to be able to focus on counting rather than on listening to me, that is totally fine. Just know that I will wave my arms around a bunch, and that will be your heads up that we're done with the 8-minute timer, okay? So we're about 2.5 minutes through. All right, and I just finished my 21 set. Hopefully I counted correctly. I have a feeling I did more than I needed to for most of those, which I suppose is better than doing less. But yeah, I understand the difficulty of trying to keep count while someone is talking at you. And the really nice thing about having this as a stream is I'm not in the room with you, so you can actually turn the volume down and go, all right, I'm just going to focus in on counting as I need to, and when I'm done with that, I can turn the volume up, and that will be fine. So keep that in mind. The funny thing is, anybody who is going to turn the volume down has already done it long ago, and thus can't actually hear me continuing to wax philosophical about why that's an important thing that you should be able to do. But that's okay, because they're still exercising, you're still exercising, and honestly, that's what matters right now, is the exercising. That's our focus point, and boy howdy, does it feel good. I don't think that I will do a held exercise for the pyramids again. I'm glad that we tested it. It's not a bad idea. Just definitely for myself, trying to talk and count at the same time, I'm not really able to keep a consistent rhythm necessarily, whereas having actual reps of something to do is so helpful. So I think that it was a good experiment, but that we will not do that again going forward. And again, it is good to test these things. This, on the other hand, I am loving. Oh man, really feeling it just dig right into the obliques, pulling those knees in. You should really feel that activation and that contraction of the obliques to pull those knees in towards your chest. And if you're not feeling that, then check in general on whether you are using your core muscles to their maximum ability. Because believe me, I know how easy it is to not do that. And I've talked about that a lot, but it's a good thing to remind ourselves of. Again, there is always more to learn. There is always more to discover about what we're doing and how we're doing it. And that's the exciting thing about class, right? Is having that continued opportunity to really grow and change. So, yeah, we're gonna take advantage of that. All right, well that helped. The last time that I did the plank, I tapped out a rhythm for myself, and that helped me to keep a little bit more on the time, which is good. Yeah, that's the way to do it, obviously. Again, I'm chattering away the whole time. It's harder for me to be able to do that, but that's smart. For those of you not reading chat right now, Tim said he did the hold count on breaths for the front plank, and that also helps to remind you to breathe, which we talk about a lot for held positions, can be a challenge. So very good call, very good call. All right, you've got 15 seconds left if you are still finishing up. And if you have more to do after the 8 minutes, that's fine. I'll start the 2-minute rest timer. You just won't get as much overall rest time, okay? So don't worry. All right, my friends, 8 minutes is up. Woo! Good job, everybody. Grab some water. Oh yeah, definitely. Important to drink water. Okay, so for today's class, next thing, yeah, English hard, words hard, moving easy, right? All right, for our next trick, we're gonna do a perpetual motion set, 45-second work intervals. And we're just gonna have 2 exercises, I think, and go back and forth between them. Yeah, so our 2 exercises are going to be Chaturanga to downward dog. My usual caveat, I am not a yoga instructor. This is my version of this based on yoga classes I have taken. So if you default to the more correct form of this exercise, that's totally fine. I just call it that because it is close enough that it's easier to understand what I'm asking. So starting from that front plank position, shoulders directly over wrists, start coming down as if in a push-up. When you're almost to the ground, leave your hips there, extend your arms, look up at the ceiling, then push back against your hands into a downward dog, back to the plank, and repeat, okay? So that's gonna be exercise number 1. And then exercise number 2 is gonna be wall sit. So I'll demonstrate off of this wall just so that you can actually see. We're going for 90-degree angles, torso to thighs, quads to calves, okay? I don't usually do it on my mat because I don't want anything to like slide out and suddenly I injure myself. So I usually do it from this wall, but it's easier to show the form from over here, all right? So we've got Chaturanga to downward dog and we've got a wall sit. 45-second work intervals, no rest interval. Getting ready to start as soon as you hear that horn. There we go. And remember that for perpetual motion sets, what we want to focus on in terms of starting on time is minimizing the amount of time that it takes to get from one exercise to the next. And it's going to be a tricky one for this because we've got to change planes and we've got to find a wall. So just remember that it's going to be a little complicated, and that's all right, but our goal is still minimize the time because ultimately we want as much of the timer as possible for the actual exercise, okay? And you don't feel the difference quite as much in a 45-second interval, but it's still it's still not a ton of time. And you want to be able to use all of the time available to you to do the exercise, right? So, yeah. So just remember, trying to minimize the amount of time that it takes. It gets easier and easier over the repetitions because you have a clearer understanding of how to get from one exercise to the other. Keeping in mind though that for the transition from Chaturanga to wall sit, there is a greater variety of possible positions that you could be in the Chaturanga when that horn goes off. And so you need to be planned to be in any of those positions, right? It's, it's different from this one. In wall sit, there's literally only one place that I will be during this wall sit, and that's right where I am right now. So I can plan my movement really concisely because I know I'm going to be here. But when we're doing the Chaturanga, you could be in the front plank, you could be coming down into the push-up, you could be extended, looking up at the ceiling, or you could be in the downward dog, or anywhere in between. And so you need to have an understanding of, okay, well, if I'm at the bottom of the push-up, what do I need to do to get up against the wall? If I am in the downward dog, what do I need to do to get up against the wall? And I have literally been in a different part of the exercise each time so far. So it's been super relevant to me because at one point I was going down in the push-up. At one point I was sort of midway pushing myself up into the downward dog, which was great because it meant that I was already sort of pushing myself up potentially towards standing and could just complete that process. And that last time I was fully in the downward dog and about to bring myself back down to the plank. So yeah, you can be in a lot of different positions when that horn goes, and you need to understand how you would get from any one of those into the wall sit. Woo! All right, I believe that this is our last round through, so that's always a nice thing to know, that we are just about done coming into that final wall sit, remembering to breathe because that is super important. Again, for these held exercises, you need to make sure that you are breathing, okay? And engaging all the muscle groups. So again, quads obviously a big one, but get those cores engaged too. Get the feet pushing backwards and flattening your back against the wall, all right? And just, woo! Oh, yeah. I'm gonna start the rest timer, but let's just do a quick quad stretch there. We'll do our nice bigger quad stretch at the end of class, but holy cow, oh, that was tiring. Yeah, again, I'm trying to do the entirety of class now, which means that I am being a little cautious on the intensity of intervals that I assign, because I need to make sure that I can get all the way through doing all of the exercises and continuing to talk with you all. All right. Woo. There we go. Okay. Let's do another pyramid, because I like pyramids for this class. It's just a fun structure, and it's very different from what we do in our other classes. I feel like all of the classes are getting some really, really good personalities of their own. All right, so let's see here. I think that our first exercise is, it's going to be flying chickens. Let's get some flying chickens in here. So feet together, thumbs at chest height, hooked behind your bra straps if you wear a bra, and out, in, out, in, out, in, out, in, okay? So we got flying chickens for a little bit of cardio fun there. And then let's do some front superheroes. So obviously not the, well, I suppose it's not obvious after today, not the held kind. So up is 1, 2, 3, etc. Okay? And then third exercise is going to be side-to-side planks. And so from that front plank, let the heels come over, up. This is 1, and then 2. So again, just like the core exercise in our first pyramid, we're going to have to do 22 and 16 so that we're fully evened out, okay? So flying chickens, then front superhero, and then side-to-side planks. 8 minutes starts now. All right. And remember that when we're doing our flying chickens, we don't have a ton of form stuff that we talk about, but having the core engaged helps to pull all of the limbs back to center rather than them sort of going every which way and not having that stable core to return to. So just something to keep in mind while you're doing them, because, you know, they're not difficult, but they will be made easier with the core engagement, okay? So just keep that in mind, which I think I've said twice in a row, but which is how you can tell that I am counting very carefully while doing that exercise. All right. The nice thing about the pyramid sets is that, and I didn't focus on this enough at the beginning of class, but you have the ability to rest whenever and for however long you need to, okay? So you can rest between exercises for as long as you need to. You can even, midway through a set, if you are truly feeling like you are not going to be able to maintain the form, then you absolutely can take a rest in the middle there. Just keep in mind that sometimes that is not going to go the way you think, to quote Luke Skywalker, because when you're in the middle of a set and you stop and your brain goes, cool, we're done with that one for now, and your muscles go, cool, we're done with that one for now, and then you start trying to do more reps of it. Sometimes I've definitely found, I don't necessarily have science to back this up, but I found qualitatively that that my brain and my muscles are like, are you kidding me? We just did this. Why the hell are you trying to make me do it again? And it makes it even harder for me to get through the last reps and to hold on to that form. So obviously, form is the most important thing. And if you truly do not think that you can get through the reps without losing your form, then stop what you're doing, okay? Absolutely. And just rest and then go back in. But just keep in mind that it may be a more difficult interplay than you were necessarily expecting, okay? Yeah. Remember, for our side-to-side planks, we're not trying to move quickly on them because we want to make sure that we are supporting and stabilizing the shoulders as much as possible, okay? So you want to be moving very deliberately back and forth rather than going for speed. Woo! All right, we are at about 5 minutes, so just about 3 minutes to go. Oh, and again, remember, take your breaks, take advantage of that time. And if you're like, nah, I'm feeling good, I'm gonna power through, cool, then you're gonna get a super long rest period. So just keeping that in mind. There we go. It's the nice thing about those like snappy exercises like that. Once you get down to 10 reps, it feels like nothing. You're like, ah, yeah, I can knock those out easily. All right. And, you know, obviously that's the goal of the pyramid, is giving us that nice sort of going down the mountain effect where, honestly, it's very similar to descending from a summit after a hike, right? Because you are, you know, you're going down, so on the one hand, gravity is your friend, but on the other hand, you still have to watch your footing because it is entirely possible to hurt yourself while you're on the way. And it's the same thing here where, you know, as we keep going, there are fewer and fewer reps we have to get through, and that is awesome and makes it feel really easy, but we still need to hang on to that form. And we are getting more fatigued. Our muscles are getting more fatigued as we go through it. So it does start to have an impact. Also, those side-to-side planks can have an impact on your wrists. So if you're having any wrist issues today, remember you can always do them from your fists to keep that wrist totally straight, or you can use dumbbells or push-up handles to grip onto. And they'll introduce a little bit of flex into your wrist, but not nearly as much. All right, about 20 seconds left, my friends, and then we'll be back into our rest period. It's been a good class. It's been a good class. We're gonna do another perpetual motion set, I think, and then see where we are in terms of time. Yes, that's right. We did toe squats, but only in that first pyramid. I know. Don't worry. I'm not going soft. I just have to switch it up every once in a while. Otherwise, y'all will get bored. And I'll get bored. More importantly. Oh my gosh, 8 minutes is come and gone. So we are in our rest period now. Huzzah. Make sure you're drinking some water, my friends. Oh yeah. It is gorgeous outside today. I do believe that I will go for a walk. It's supposed to get up to 50 today, and I think it's supposed to get up to like 60 tomorrow, which would be lovely. Reminds me that I need to get porch furniture so that my back deck can be taken advantage of. All right, let's do another perpetual motion set, 45 seconds again. And Yeah. What we gonna do? What are we gonna do? No, you know what? We're gonna do a minute for this one. Yeah, that's right. But still only 2 exercises. So we're still going back and forth between 2 exercises. But it is going to be a minute. A minute intervals. So let's do our imaginary jump rope. So elbows at the sides. We are legitimately pretending to hold a jump rope. Even if you don't have a jump rope, still just go with me on this journey. And we are jump rope. Yeah. All right. Another exercise where there's not a ton of form notes, but engaging your core helps to center everything, okay? And then second exercise is going to be, I think ankle reaches for a minute-long interval. So feet pointing up in the air, contract those abdominals to lift your shoulders and chest off the floor. One hand to the outside of the opposite ankle. Then you bring yourself slightly back, but not all the way back. So your core is contracted for the rest of this exercise. And then other ankle, and just going back and forth. Alrighty? So we got our jump rope, we got our ankle reaches, we've got our hopes and our dreams. And as soon as you hear that horn, we've got to get going. There we go. All right. And if you do own a jump rope, feel free to use it, okay? Usually I demonstrate things the way that you can do them even if you don't have any equipment at home, because I really don't have much of any equipment at home right now. I'm hoping that that will change over the course of the year, but even once it does, it's really important to me to make sure that you always know what, that you can do most anything, even if you don't have the specific equipment. There are exceptions, obviously, you know, deadlifting and like Olympic powerlifting is just not something that you can really replicate without the equipment. And you know, those have never been my preferred activities, so it is not something that gets in the way of my personal fitness, but I do like to acknowledge it because, yeah, a lot of people, that is their preferred activity. And you know that I always say that the best exercise is the thing that you enjoy and can stick with. So, yeah, there are some exceptions, but there are far fewer exceptions than we may think. And, you know, if this last year has taught us anything, it's that we need to build that creativity and that flexibility, because we may not always have access to a gym and to all that equipment. And we don't want to give up on our fitness just because we don't have what we have determined to be the perfect setup, you know? But there is so much that we can absolutely do just from the comforts of our living rooms. And you know what, if you've been taking class with me, then you know that already. But it's still good to remind ourselves, because that can be a huge barrier. And it has been for me, definitely, in my own fitness journeys, just dealing with the fact that I don't feel like I have exactly the
exactly the facilities I want, exactly the structure that I want, and that becoming a factor to demoralize me and to make me go, all right, well, I guess I'll wait to do this until I get that perfect setup. And what that usually ends up doing is just meaning that I wait and wait and wait. And, you know, having the structure of these streams has been life-changing for me personally. But also just reminding myself that, yeah, I can work out in my living room, and it can be a really awesome workout too. And even, you know, even if it's not exactly what I want to be doing, it is still there, and it's still something I can focus on, something that I can challenge myself with. And yeah, it's a good thing to remember. So just reminding ourselves of that is a good thing to do, because man, this year definitely blew up all of our expectations, all of our understandings of what we can do, what's safe to do, where it's safe to go. And you know, that is so hard, so very hard to deal with. And again, we gotta be kind to ourselves, my friends. We've gotta remember that kindness starts with us being kind to ourselves, and then gets to gravitate out to the rest of the world. But yeah, we can absolutely work out really wonderfully without going anywhere, without having hundreds of dollars worth of gym equipment. All that stuff is truly not necessary. And we can still be here, you know, jumping up and down, miming having a jump rope, and not even feeling ridiculous about it, because we're in our homes, we're in our living rooms, in our bedrooms. We do not have to worry about strangers watching us. We do not have to worry about, you know, feeling ashamed or judged. We are just here to focus on ourselves and on our fitness. And wow, does that feel good? Woo. And you know what else feels good? This is the last set of ankle reaches, and then it's going to be time to stretch. And wow, is that going to be awesome. So check in on your form, make sure you are still using your core to lift your shoulders, to lift your chest. We're not reaching out with the arm. We are crunching up and letting that motion bring our hand up to the ankle. We have gotten through an hour. Holy crap. Woo! All right, good job. 1 second, and then we'll start stretching. That is not something that I know specifically, but when I find information out about it, it will go somewhere on my socials. And it's a good question. You know, it's important to know what your needs are in terms of your injury map, in terms of any chronic conditions, and to do that research. And unfortunately, a lot of times that research has to be done by you, because not every teacher is going to know good information for every condition. Like, obviously we're constantly training and educating ourselves, but there's only so much information that the human mind can retain. So it's always really important to know what your conditions, what your chronic conditions are, what your injury map is, and to ask the questions and also do the research into what are the best modifications that you need to do. My focus obviously frequently lands on the things that I personally deal with, and I am doing research all the time to try and expand my knowledge base. But yeah, so I will add that to the list. All right, my friends, let's do some quad stretches, because we did some wall sits and those are always just brutal. So for our favorite quad stretch, folding the working leg so that that heel is on the outside of the hip, and then pulling it in towards the hip as close as we can get it, letting the other knee just fall open. It's not really doing anything, just chilling. And once we're there, we are going to start lowering our torso backwards only as far as we need to get that nice stretch in the quad. We're moving slowly because we don't want to activate the quad. We don't want it to try to contract. We want it to just lengthen, okay? So you may only need to go here to get that stretch. Awesome. Or you may come all the way down to the elbows, or even all the way down to the floor. Wherever you are, take a second to settle into the stretch and to just feel whatever sensations you're feeling. This can be a very intense stretch depending on your quad flexibility, okay? Another reason why we move into it slowly, because when we feel that intensity, a lot of times it triggers that response in our brain that makes our brain go, okay, we gotta do something, we gotta move, and that's gonna make the muscle fibers try to contract, okay? Now let's take 4 deep breaths. Each time you inhale, visualize the oxygen going to wherever you're feeling the most intensity of sensation. Each time you exhale, try and settle a little more deeply into the stretch. Here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. And now carefully, slowly, back up to seated. Don't unfold the leg under its own steam. Take one hand to the knee, one hand to the ankle. Manually move it around and stretch it out in front of you. Then bring the other leg to meet it. Shake out those knees. Then flex the feet and point and flex and point and circle the ankles in one direction and then the other direction. All right, and now other side. Second verse, same as the first. Remember, we are not symmetrical creatures, so you may be able to get more deeply into this stretch on this side, or you may not be able to go down as far. Either one is fine. Just be honest with yourself. You may be able to go as far as you did on the other side, you know, and in that case, cool. You are mostly symmetrical for this side. But even being able to get down here to the same depth of stretch as I can on the other side, I still feel the differences. My hip still pulls up a little bit more from the floor on this side than it does on the other side. So you will still feel those little differences even if you're able to deepen the stretch to the same degree. All right, so now that we're here, we're settled, and we're going to take those 4 deep breaths again. Again, every time we inhale, visualizing the oxygen going to wherever we're feeling the most intensity. Every time we exhale, trying to settle a little more deeply into the stretch. So here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. All right, and carefully back up to seated. One hand to the knee, one hand to the ankle. Manually unfold the leg in front of you. Bring the other leg to meet it. Shake out those knees. Flex the feet and point and flex and point and circle the ankles in one direction and then the other direction. All right. And now I want to just do that nice hip stretch. So we're not going to do full pretzel. Ooh, cracked my hip, speaking of. We're not going to do the full pretzel. We're just going to do the sort of pigeon stretch component of it. So one leg, let the knee fall to the floor. Bring that heel to the outside of the opposite hip. The other leg, you want the knee pointing up towards the ceiling and bring that foot across to the other side of the knee. Then I want you to pull that ankle up on top of the knee and keep the foot flexed. That's going to protect the working knee. Again, there's a tendency for some weird torquing pressures, and if you're just sort of letting your leg hang, it can cause some issues with the working knee. So keeping your foot flexed is just going to help protect that knee a little bit as we fold over and really feel that hip stretch. Oh my goodness. Yep. That is an intense stretch. So I'm really just letting gravity do the work here. One of the few times that gravity gets to come to the party. All right, let's take those 4 deep breaths here. Here we go. Each time we exhale, sinking more deeply into the stretch. Here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. All right. Back to seated. Let that ankle come off the knee. Unfold that side, then coming right over to the other side. So same setup. Bring that ankle up onto the knee, keeping the foot flexed to protect the working knee. And now we just let our torso fold over. Yeah, and I definitely can feel the difference in my flexibility on a stretch like this, because my left hip is way more flexible. All right, so now that we're here, keeping that foot flexed, let's take those 4 deep breaths. Here we go. That's 1.
That's 2. That's 3. And 4. All right. I think that is good, my friends. Hiya. Hiya. Oh, man. All right, let's grab that water. What a good class. Yeah. Yeah, I really wasn't sure if I was going to be able to teach this morning, but I woke up, I was feeling it, and I'm really glad that we did class. I know I definitely needed it, and I'm guessing you did too. It's been a hell of a week, but you know, as long as we're taking care of each other, as long as we're checking in with each other, as long as we're out there supporting our community however we can, you know, that's always going to give me back some of that hope. And that's important. That's really important. So thank you all for, you know, understanding what I was going through this week. I always feel weird about not teaching. And obviously this week had sort of 2 days that were not as usual because our Tuesday stream was given over to ranting about gun control in America. And then yesterday didn't happen. So the uploads tomorrow will be minimal, which makes my life easier. But you know, it's important to recognize when we need that time and when we need that space. And the places and the people that respect you will always honor that. They will always understand when you need that time. And I've been very lucky this week in that everybody has understood. And that means the world to me. And it makes it easier for me to remind myself that, yeah, it is okay to take a night to myself, or to take a night to not stream class, but to just, you know, chill and be angry and heartbroken together with each other. Yeah, that's okay. It is a-okay. And I know I forget that a lot, so thank you for helping me to remember that this week. This was our last class of a very strange week. Next week, knock on wood, we will be back with our regular schedule, and we are going to kick off a program. I haven't named it yet, but damn it, it's going to happen. But we will be back with our regular program Tuesday at 5:45 p.m. Mountain Time, Perpetual Motion, the class where we never stop moving. Wednesday at 4:30 p.m., Jump Around, our weekly cardio class. Friday at 6 p.m., Functional Home Fitness, the class where we do weight training using objects you can find around the house. And then back around to Saturday at 9 a.m. for the weekend kickoff. Please join for any or all of those classes. We'll be doing a ramp up program over the next month. We haven't done that since October, and that was a super fun time, and I'm really looking forward to doing it again. It may actually not start next week. Now that I'm thinking about it, I may start it the first full week of April, so that it's truly an April program. So I'll check the calendar tonight, but either way, please do join next week for any or all of the classes, because they all have their own personalities and they are all a good time. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All those handles will be in my end cards, but they are all variations on Blanche Case Fitness. My YouTube channel is where I upload all the VODs from these streams, so you never have to miss a class, even if you can't make the live cast. Those will be going up tomorrow around 11 or noon, so definitely head over there and subscribe. If you want to help support me financially in making these streams, support a mutual aid organization doing work in Boulder instead. Or follow and subscribe to the channel, which is always something I do appreciate for people who feel comfortable doing giving longer term support. But I also definitely want to make sure that people people are supporting those mutual aid organizations for the families of the 10 victims in Boulder, for the families of the 7 or 8 victims in Atlanta. It's truly horrifying to me that we have so many mass shootings that it's hard for me to remember how many people died in each one. So yeah, we've got a lot of work to do, my friends, but I know we can do it. And if you want to help keep growing this channel and growing this community, then please tell your friends, loved ones, coworkers, anybody looking for an awesome class. I stream 4 days a week. We have an amazing community here, obviously. We've got lots of plans for 2021, and some of those plans involve stretching ourselves and challenging ourselves, and some of those plans involve reminding ourselves of the importance of rest and of taking time. I think we could all use help with both of those, so I definitely hope that you stick around. I'm gonna go eat some food, take a shower, maybe even a walk, and just see what I want to do with the rest of this beautiful day. So you should do the same. Make sure to finish your water bottle and refill it as soon as you're done. Start restoring, replenishing those glycogen stores with food. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see you all back here again on Tuesday. Mwah. Have a great day.